my internet's not great in my car. I'm Anna Beth. I'm the director of the Tully Free Library. Thank you all for joining us for our Meet the Candidates night. We're sorry that we can't have it in person this year, but I'm sure you can all understand. Morgan Downs is going to be our moderator for the evening. She's going to be reading out the questions and then asking the candidates to answer the questions. And I'll hop in if any help is needed or there are any issues that come up. Yeah, Morgan, do you want to get started?
Okay. So the first question is, why do you want to be on the school board?
Updated today. It's the last day. It might be used the old version.
Is there a specific order that we're answering, or are there any preference in how this goes?
Doesn't matter to me. I don't know if anybody else.
Morgan, do you want to just like go in order, and then on the next question you can like start with the second person, like rotate it so that each person gets to answer first once?
Okay, Mrs. Bastedo, do you want to go first?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm just going to ask that your question again was, why do you want to be on the school board?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I've been a part of the Tully School District since both of my children have been in the school. I have coached, I have worked with the kids through religious ed, I've gone in with the PTO. This last year is the first year that I really have not had a lot of interaction with the school, mainly because I switched jobs. So I had come off the PTO, and the year not being there, it was tough not being involved with my kids' education every day. Both of my kids are now in the junior high and the high school. Carly is in 11th and Connor is in 7th, both going successfully to 8th and 12th next year. And I'm ready to take that next step and become involved with the school board, a little bit different as opposed to working with the PTO. I'd like to start to work on the policies, get a little more of an understanding, and be a part of how the future of their education is formed. And I think for me, with my education being in public policy and administration, this is the next logical step for me, and I'm very excited to be a part of it.
Nice, thank you. Miss Debbie, do you want to go next?
Hi, Annie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. I just want to say hello to everybody first off, and I just want to pursue everything with the Tully School still. I was a bus driver here before. I am working down at Homer Central School now, still driving bus and having a lot of fun with the kids down there. Wish everything was different, but I still want to pursue and see a lot of changes go on here at Tully, in which we really need changes taken care of, and a lot needs to be done, between the taxes going up every year and a lot of things going on at the school. We need things taken care of between the buses and wherever you go. That's all you hear, and we need things taken care of, and we need things done now. So that's why I'm doing this here now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Mrs. Burt, do you want to go next? I think, are you muted?
Yeah, I unmuted. Yes, I was. How are you today?
Good.
Are you doing good?
Mm-hmm.
You surviving the difference in school?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, as you know, I've been on the board. I was elected to the board 3 years ago. And the reason I want to run for the board is that I don't feel like I've finished what I wanted to, that I started. And I would like to see things to the end. And I love doing what I do. And I just want, I see my job working as one board member with the 7 of us as being collaborating and supporting the district and the community. And I like to set the vision and goals of the district and, you know, hold the district accountable for the results. And I like to keep tabs of it. I like to see students be the priority. Students are the #1 priority, and I want to continue my work supporting that. And I absolutely love working on the board. Again, same with me. I was been in education I was a teacher for 36 years, teacher/administrator. I retired after 36 years, and now I'm an educational consultant for a college and career readiness system that supports districts throughout the country. Right now, we are totally turning into virtual, so I am learning as we go with all the new technology. So I think I can bring a little bit more to the board also as far as the technology issues and how to use it as far as supporting synchronous and asynchronous learning. And I just want to continue my work. That's basically it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, do you want to go next?
Sure, Morgan, thank you. And thank Annabelle Hayes for organizing this Meet the Candidates tonight. The reason I want to be on the board, that I am on the board right now, and I want to take the experience I've had for the past 3 years and all the learning that comes with that time of being on the board and extend it and use it to continue to help this district grow and take care of our students to our best ability. Educating our students is the most important aspect of a school district. I have 32 years of being a teacher in Tully School District, so I have that unique perspective of a background within the district. I have my 3 children went to Tully School. They're now adults, and I have 3 grandchildren in the school district. So I have a lot of it at stake in Tully School District. I also have the ability to listen to people well and hear different viewpoints, and think that that's very important in a board member. And so kind of in a nutshell, that's why I'm running again for the board.
Thank you. Mrs. Cardamone, do you want to go next?
Oops. I'm muted. I apologize. No, I have no questions at this point anyway. I will. Thank you.
Okay. I think I'm just going across my screen. So Mrs. Zook, do you want to go next?
I'm sorry, I think there was some confusion. So we only have 4 candidates running. We have Andrea, Deborah, Faye, and Jane. So
okay.
they're the only people who are going to be answering any questions tonight.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, I thought I was going across my screen just reading names, but that makes it easier. Thank you. So the next question is, how does your previous experience prepared you for this position on the school board? So Miss Debbie, do you want to go first, and we can go kind of in the same order?
I think with one-on-one with all the kids that I used to deal with on the bus, and with the parents that I used to deal with in the community, I used to always have to either call, or parents used to come up to the bus and ask questions and say, want to know what was going on and what was happening. So I always had to have an answer right then and there, what was happening and what was going on. And we always had to have the answer right away. So we knew what was happening. And if, you know, we knew who to talk to, and I was able to talk to every parent and every kid on that bus and every person in the community so far that I came across. I know a lot of people, and I have not had a person that I cannot talk to. And I feel as though that I like everybody around here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mrs. Burt, do you want to go next? I think you might be muted again.
Okay, sorry about that, Morgan.
No worries.
Can you read the question again? Just so I get a good focus.
Yeah. How has your previous experience prepared you for this position on the school board?
Okay, so my previous experience, I've worked in education since I graduated from college at 21, and I've never taken a year off until I retired 3 years ago. I was a teacher in the classroom for 30 years, and then my last 6 years in public education, I was a district employee. I was a district director of a college readiness system in the Syracuse City School District. So I feel that I've seen and experienced all layers of an educational system. I know that my first priority are the students, but my priority also is faculty, staff, students, of course, and our community. And and I worked in the Syracuse City School District for almost all of my career. As far as my involvement in experience in Tully, my boys both went to Tully from kindergarten to 12th grade and are very successful. I love them dearly. Tully district served them well. And I just feel that it's really important that you bring in what you know of your community and what you can bring from your own experience to better the district and the curriculum that the students are involved in the classroom. I feel like I could really help in supporting the district, the faculty, the staff, and especially the community and the students, which are the first priority with my background.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Morgan. The experience that I have in education, first of all, I have been a special ed teacher. I've been a classroom teacher. Midway through my career, I studied again and I became a reading specialist in reading recovery. I was a staff developer in Tully schools for English language arts. I worked with BOCES on New York State testing, and I worked as an adjunct at Lemoyne College teaching teachers. So educationally wise, I have a lot of experience that I can bring to the table at the board, can understand when our principals give their building reports, what they're speaking about, have questions to ask them, to understand exactly what's going on in each building educationally for our children. As I mentioned before, I am a parent and a grandparent of children who have gone through and are going through Tully School. I've been a community member since 1974, so I've lived in Tully for a long while. And I also have some business background. My husband and I have had 2 successful businesses, so I bring that to the table also, as well as 3 years of experience of being a board member. I've been on the policy committee and I've been on the audit committee, have learned a lot through being on those committees and have been able to bring that also to the table. And so I think all these together make me a good candidate for a board to keep our education of our students rigorous and on top of things. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bastedo, do you want to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I want to kind of break down what I think I bring to the board in 3 different categories. I kind of like to start personally. On a personal level, I think what I bring is my experience, with the children, having been a coach, having been on PTO, having worked through religious ed practices, and having taught kids personally and professionally at the DARE level, drug abuse resistance education, and been in the classroom at that K through 12 level as a practitioner and as a coach and as a parent. Professionally, I bring over 25, almost 25 years of law enforcement experience, which brings me a little more knowledge on the safety end of things. But I also have over 15 years teaching at the collegiate level. I've taught for 2 and still do teach for 2 colleges as an adjunct, which has been great. Still not exactly the K-12, which I think is where my experience comes in, working at the K-12 level. Most of my experience is at Lynn-Court. I did quite a bit of work at Lynn-Court, which is a Lynn-Court Union Free School District. And when I was there, I worked with the board and with the administration. Absolutely wonderful district, smaller, much like Tully is. And they do UPK through 8 and just getting their 3-year program, which is awesome because I think that that's paramount to have those 3-year-olds in there. Just a tremendous program. But I think the one other thing that I bring, and then kind of my third area, is my education. My doctoral studies are in public policy and administration, and that's where I think I bring a little bit of a different approach of having over 20 years in the career fields of safety and education, yet I know the public policy laws, both for-profit, non-for-profit, and educationally, to apply them in some of the more effective ways, and maybe bring a breadth of new approaches to how we know what the problems are. How can we help craft the policies in such a way to get them through? And sometimes I think the ideas are great, but I think I bring some experience as to bringing those wonderful ideas that benefit our children into practicality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the next question is, what is your vision for the district? What do you plan to do to make the school a better place in the upcoming year? So Mrs. Burt, do you want to start?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Well, I kind of alluded to my vision, but I see the vision for the district is first of all to give the students a safe and positive environment in which to learn. That is the utmost importance, because with that, I see our vision is to make sure that our students are challenged and engaged in learning. With these unprecedented times right now, that word engagement is changing. The way we are engaging our students in our learning, it is totally different. So that is a real important vision to keep in mind going forward. And also, all students should be engaged and learn and be given rigorous curriculum and the opportunity to try the rigorous curriculum and be able to be supported when they fail. And failure is not a bad thing, it's a learning process. So that's what I see my vision as. And as we go along, our district is a great district. My boys love being in the district, and it really did them well. But I see the vision as we really need to go forward with the times. And first and foremost, need a safe environment in which they can learn, and to make sure that we are moving forward with curriculums that are going to support the changes in learning that are happening. Because as of right now, and as a consultant, an educational consultant around the country, I'm working with teachers and administrators in school districts in exactly what I'm talking about, is what do we do in these changing times? So as being on the board for the last 3 years, I see that I have much more work to do and move forward. And with that, my work on the throughout the last 3 years has been, we brought up an academic curriculum committee as part of one of the committees of the Board of Ed, which they never had before. So in that academic curriculum committee, we are looking at what are the offerings at the high school level? What are the curriculums at each grade level in the elementary school? And we're putting things together so that the community is more aware, and we're putting things into place. It's ongoing work. And again, that's why I want to continue to be on the board, because I see myself doing more of this work. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, do you want to go next?
There we go. Sure. Visions for the district. First of all, as a board member, I know one of our charges is financial, and watching over the finances of the district is of utmost important in order to continue programming for our students. Maintaining a rigorous curriculum in a safe environment is very important for children to learn. Children have a lot of difficulty learning if they don't feel safe. If there are reasons they bring from home to school, we have to help alleviate reasons that they might not feel comfortable and might not be able to learn. Very important. Academics, as I've mentioned, we have some problem with some scores on some of our regiments, and we've talked about them at the board and talked with our principals about them. In our ELA testing, we have been making steady growth, but we're still slightly below the state average. I would like to see us continue to make that steady growth. As Mrs. Burt mentioned, we have an academic advisory committee with 1 or 2 board members on it, I believe. That's a very important committee. Meets with the principals and other members of the staff to keep curriculum up to date and moving. We have initiatives that involve computers. We have computers for virtually every student in the district. And we know now that we never know what's going to happen. With the COVID-19 pandemic, all of a sudden our students had to become virtual learners at home. We need to continue some familiarity with virtual learning. We also have to get our students back into school. That has to be figured out across this nation somehow, to get our students back to school where they can be face to face with their teachers. We are a small rural school district, and so sometimes our numbers don't allow for maybe some of the electives that students might want, but we have initiatives going with Fabius and Lafayette to accommodate learning across the 3 school districts. We also accommodate sports across the 3 school districts. These are important initiatives in a small rural school district where money is tight and where our enrollment is kind of is low these days. So my vision for Tully is rigorous academics in a safe environment. We have a director of school safety. We need to continue hiring, keeping that person on board, and making sure that our children feel safe in that way. We also have a social worker in the elementary school. We're looking for one in the high school and a behavioral specialist in the elementary school. These are all important initiatives that are being taken and need to be continued in Tully Central School District. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ms. Bastedo, do you want to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. When I look at the vision, I think I'm going to take a little more broader of a perspective than maybe might be wanted. So if you're looking for more, I just implore people to ask. But when I look at the vision of a district, specifically Tully, I like to break it down into 3 parts. What I'm looking at is what can we do and what do we need to do to find a balance between what our staff needs, what our student and our families need, and what our community needs. And the reason I put that into my vision is because every, excuse me, I apologize. Our goal through our vision is to provide what those 3 groups need to provide an education at a financially feasible way. How can I get the best education and provide the best opportunities and provide for our children, enable our staff to provide for our children to go out into our community and become successful, and yet keep the community that we have financially able to maintain what our goals are. It truly is, in my mind, a trilogy that we have to work with. The thing that I caveat with that is that it needs transparency. At any time, our community, and it's incumbent upon the community to do it too, but at any time, our community should know what their school board's vision is, what they're doing. They should understand what the discussions are. And I think sometimes our community is not there enough. So we have to find ways to bring them into it more. I think our staff is there. I think the Tully School District staff is very involved. But I don't always think our students are involved enough. And if they're not, then we may not be providing what they need. We may be providing what we think they need. So I think we need to look at those 3 groups, find out clearly what their needs are, and then find out a way to provide it with that practicality and that financial ability. But again, transparency is so paramount. Hope that's not too broad of a statement, but I think once you encompass all of that, then you're able to dig into the details of the individual situation. I'm also going to apologize if you heard my dog bark, but I think my cat upset him, so I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie, do you want to go next?
Sure. One thing I think what should occur in the upcoming year in the bus garage, that I do know that Miss Murphy, she is a very reliable, very knowledgeable woman. She has gone to school for many things. She has a 19A examiner. She teaches bus drivers to learn how to drive a bus. She is very professional. And my opinion, I believe she should be running that bus garage. She is very well knowledged, and as a 19A examiner, that is the #1 person that should be front line in that bus garage. And as you all know, and bus drivers are the first one to see the kids and the last one to see them go home at night. And when we get those kids on the bus in the morning, we know what they're like. And when we drop them off at school, we know what's going to happen when they enter that school. And when we send a report in, we send it in, it should be taken right to the principal. And if it's not done right, and those principal and the superintendent or anybody, when they get the report and they don't take care of it the way we send it in, then something's wrong. And that's where we need to get that taken care of, because the kids are getting hurt and things are not getting taken care of. And I do know when I have issues where I drive now, things are getting taken care of immediately. And kids are taken right off the bus immediately. They do not play games. And we need to get things taken care of. And like I say, I believe that Miss Murphy is a #1 candidate to run that bus garage, and she would be well deserved job. And I would support her 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we go through everybody on that question? I think so. Right? Okay. So the next one is, what do you feel are the most serious issues facing our school system? So do you, Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, do you want to go next? Or first?
Well, I mentioned a moment ago finances and academics. In the immediate future, finances are going to be, they're going to be cut. They're going to be cut back. We're going to have to be very careful about our monies in order to maintain programming and the support that our students need. That being said, our house is in good order in Tully. We are not in a tremendous panic, as some school districts are already with the cuts that are going to be made because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have long-term, I don't want to call them visions, long-term plans. We've already been looking 4 years out. The board has, with the help of Mr. Corbin and Mr. Hughes, as how the monies could possibly play out over the next few years. And we have reserves because we have been careful with our money. And hopefully we'll be okay. That is going to be a grave challenge, serious issue for the future. Academically, will we get our students back to school is a big question. I believe that's imperative, so I think that's a serious issue that we're faced with also. I've watched students who have taken well to virtual learning and ones who haven't. As I said before, face-to-face education is extremely important. Understandably, all our students need to know how to Zoom a meeting or Google a document, but being there with a human being, being with their peers during the day, this is the utmost important to our students' education. I'd also like to bring up just something I would like to see. I won't call it a serious issue, but just I'd like to see more recycling happening in our cafeterias. So I think that's an important initiative I'd like to see going forward. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bastedo, do you want to go next?
I would. Can you please repeat the question for me?
Yeah, no problem. What do you feel are the most serious issues facing our school system?
Our school system or our students, our students?
It's a school system, but I think you can take any approach you want.
Thank you. So really, I think there's a couple big things. I mean, I automatically want to go to the COVID pandemic because obviously, much as everybody has said, the homeschooling has been a struggle for students, parents, staff. It's a whole new arena of how, and it's hard. So I think if we look at the immediate stressful issue, that is it. But, much like Jane alluded to, we've got to get our kids back into the school, and that's going to create, and God willing, we will this fall. I think that's going to create the longer term issues that we normally deal with pre-COVID. And when we go pre-COVID, the things that concern me when I look at this generation of students are safety. Safety is paramount, because our students, I was never afraid to go to school. I went to Webster Elementary School on the north side of Syracuse. I walked 6 blocks. I was never afraid to walk to school. I was never afraid to be in school. My teachers were awesome. Our Tully teachers are awesome, but sometimes I feel that, they're scared too. Safety in schooling is a totally different world today. The other thing that concerns me with this generation is socialization. I feel like our students in this whole generation, they don't socialize, interact as well as we did prior to texting and Fortnite and all of the computer games that these kids isolate more with. So obviously COVID and all the homeschooling things, those are probably the biggest issues we're dealing with now. Once our children return, safety and socialization skills, how to work with one another, how to de-escalate situations, how to talk, how to interact, how to effectively learn, the whole community being of a school is really where my concern lies as they come back. And where I fear that they struggled going into COVID, it's going to be even harder coming back from it, because in addition to maybe some of the physical fears we had with some of the violence that has occurred in our schools, now we have the health fears. So it's going to be a tough transition, and it's going to bring, it's going to exacerbate some of the old problems and introduce some new problems. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is, what is your ideal relationship between the roles of the superintendent and the school board? Do you want to go? Do you have a question? Mrs. Burt?
I don't think, did I get to answer that question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You get skipped? I'm sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry. No worries. This is all virtual. This is what happens. We're good. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, no problem. What do you feel are the most serious issues facing our school system?
Okay, well, I totally agree with everything, with all that's been said so far. And what I see is right now, immediate, we've been working as a board. We have been working as a board very hard through this time. And I just want to make that aware to everyone that we have been meeting virtually, and we have been on top of what's going on with as much information that we've gotten from the state. But we're prepared. But one of my things is about, one of my concerns is just continuing to make sure finances support students academically, socially, in the respect of safety, without putting a huge burden on taxpayers. And I'm going to piggyback on what Jane said. We have been doing that right now as a board. We have been looking, this year we're pretty good with our budget, but we've also been proactive in looking into the future, because we know that state monies are going to be not as accessible. So we're going to have to be proactive, and we are a district that is in pretty good condition as far as reserves and everything else. And I'm also going to piggyback on what Andrea said, because I totally agree with what we are going to face as far as with our students to support them. Because yes, pre-COVID, there were a lot of issues going on as far as how to handle arguments, how to socially be adequate. And then COVID hit, and we've put more into the pot that we're going to have to deal with after COVID. Even with having to change or rearrange how we teach our students, I totally agree. We have to get them back in the classroom. but I think it is going to be different even when they're in the classroom, and it's going to be a positive thing, using the, combining synchronous and asynchronous learning. But the other thing that I strongly believe is that we are putting a social worker in the elementary school, and we are putting a behavioral specialist in the elementary school, and we are adding a social worker to the high school for those exact reasons Andrea said, that they are going to need practice. How do we deal with how we're feeling, and how do we react to it? That to me is going to really help improve the feeling of feeling safe in a school. Along with other different programs, we have looked into having a program that is called Arise, which works with families and works with them and counsels them, and they work side by side with the district. But they work more with the families, and it's not so much in the classroom, it's to work with the families, because we know our students come to school with a lot of issues that are in their backpacks, and they have to learn how to unpack that backpack.
I think we've lost Faye. Can
Yeah, it
Andrea?
looks like maybe her connection ended. Why don't you go to the next question, Morgan? And if she
Did I
comes,
skip Miss Debbie too?
I'm not sure.
I think I did. It was my screen flipped people around. I was going across my screen and it got all messed up, so I apologize.
You're good, Morgan. It's fine.
But just wanted to give you the chance.
It's okay. I agree with Andrea. I grew up in Mattydale in North Syracuse, and I have 3 kids of my own, and I'm a grandmother also, and I walked to school myself. And back then, you didn't have to worry about anything about walking to school, but nowadays you do. And with everything going on between the COVID, the riots, you don't know what you're going to look for, and you don't know which way to turn anymore. And yes, Morgan, sorry to say, but you need to go back to school. Sorry, but it is true that learning needs to be done in school. But I do not see it happening right away. I don't know. I hope and pray to God that the kids will end up going back to school in September. But they have a lot of work that needs to be done to get that social distance taken care of. That it's not just in school that they're going to have to do the social distancing. You have to remember they're going to have to do that social distance also on their buses. And everybody forgets about the bus. That's the main concern, the bus. How do you do social distance on a bus? And everybody's forgetting that stuff. But I think, like Jane, Andrea, everybody's saying, the kids need to go back to school. They need to be there with everybody and to get back together and socialize, get together, learn, and just to be safe. I don't know. I just don't know how it's going to work, but it's scary. It's a real scary thought right now. That's it.
Thank you. So the next question is, what is your ideal relationship between the roles of the superintendent and the school board? Mrs. Bastedo, do you want to start?
Thank you. Yes. Ideal relationship, and I think is the relationship in a lot of ways right now. It's teamwork, it's respect for one another. Each board member brings something different to the table. They need to really hone in on their strong points and lean on one another for the areas where they might not be so strong. They need to have respect for one another. They need to respect the superintendent, even if, you know, opinions differ between members and the superintendent, and they will, it's human nature. It's a board, it's a group, it's teamwork, it's representative of the community, the staff and the students, and they need to work together. And I think when you go in with that mindset and with that mission, and you become successful. Not going to say it's easy. I don't think anytime you have more than one opinion, it's easy, because it's the nature of the beast. But it has to be a team effort, and you have to find ways to benefit the whole. What can you do to benefit the whole community, the school district? And we're blessed. We have a great administration. We have, you know, great principals. I've had the opportunity to work with the principals in both buildings. They're great. The superintendent brings a lot to the table, and so do the members of the board. So I think teamwork and honesty and transparency and respect are the keys to that relationship.
Thank you. Miss Debbie, do you want to go next?
Okay. The people, I would say, first off, the people, you know, the board members are really going to have to start listening to the community also. That's a top priority right now, I think. The board really has to listen to the community. And I've heard a lot since I've been trying to run for the board now. Everybody's been asking me, are you really serious? You really want to do this? I said, yep, I really want to do this. I've had some issues in the past with the school, but, and I've had some issues with the superintendent, but I'm putting it all behind me, and I'm going forward. And I'm going to try to do what I have to do to try to win this, because I feel as though we need to work with the people in this community, because they need our help and they want it done. And this is our concern right now, is the people in the community, not just the board, not just the superintendent, the principals, the teachers, faculty, or anything, or anybody, the taxpayers. We're you know, they're paying taxes where we live, and they're paying for the kids. So you got to remember that. That's what our main concern is. The taxpayers right now. We got to get them taken care of. That's what I think needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Burt, are you ready, or do you want, I can repeat the question, but.
I am ready. I had internet problems. Can you believe that? Thank goodness I have 3 devices. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, no problem.
I didn't hear it.
What is your ideal relationship between the roles of the superintendent and the school board?
Oh, the roles of the superintendent and the school board. Well, the role is to work and collaborate with the superintendent in making and in supporting the students and the teachers and staff and the community as a district to support our students and support our community, and to have agreement with all things. We need to collaborate. That's the whole word. It's called collaboration. And you know, I did jot something down, because this is really important to me, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget to say it. I believe that the values and beliefs of a community are extremely important to the success of the district. It is crucial to have and sustain a partnership between our community and our district, because the partnership and it will result in a greater awareness of our student needs. I truly believe that. Our students are our top priority, and I think that as a board member and as a superintendent, we work. I truly believe that. And I have to say, I don't know what Jane said, but I'm going to say that this board, the last 3 years, having our community involved with the board and with the superintendent has kind of been a top priority. And at the beginning, we said we want to have parents on the different committees, parents represented on the different committees, and even put out who is interested. And we took our, different names, and we really tried to encourage it, because we saw, at least I did when I got elected for the first time, I saw that as one of our downfalls, is that we really need to support and listen to the community and have them have their say and be involved. The only way to change is to be the change. And we need the community to be involved in a positive, proactive way. There are always things that need to be fixed, but I feel that between the superintendent and the board and the community and the teachers and the staff and the students, we can do that and do it in a proactive way. We really have to encourage that, because proactive, as I might say. But that was one of the reasons I ran for the board 3 years ago, was that, I sat and I wanted some changes. So I said, you know what? If I want changes, I have to be the change and get involved. So that's how I feel. And I think our support of our superintendent and with the community is our job, so that the superintendent feels that the community is supporting him and that the superintendent is supporting the community.
Thank you. Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, did you
You're
want?
welcome.
Oh,
Thank you, Morgan. The relationship between the school board and the superintendent is of utmost importance for the good working order of business. The school board oversees the superintendent. That's one of our main jobs as a school board. That being said, maintaining and establishing and maintaining a good relationship between the school board and the superintendent is very important. We have that relationship on the board right now. We respect each other's opinions. Disagreements are fine. We respectfully speak to each other, even when we disagree. The superintendent, of course, oversees the other administrators in the building, and it's the board's job to oversee the superintendent. So we are at the top of the heap, so to speak, of watching over the good work, or if the work's not so good, that's being done in the district. Since I've been on the board, one of the issues that was a concern of mine when I joined the board was communication with the community. I felt that it wasn't as good as it should be. And over the course of the last 3 years, there have been some, I think, good changes in terms of how we use the Knighton site, how we use the website. We now have a Facebook page. We've been moving forward on communicating with the community in order to be transparent about what we do on the board and getting information out, important information that the community, not just the parents of the students, but the whole community needs. You know, there's two pieces there, the parents of the students and then the at-large community. Communicating with both those groups is very important. So the relationship between the school board and the superintendent hopefully will be good. He does answer to us. That's what we're charged with. The community votes for us or not, depending on their wishes. And so we are the representatives of the community on the school board. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you. Mrs. Burt, did I interrupt your response before?
Absolutely not. You were just fine. And I again, I apologize for losing my internet.
No,
But-
that's okay.
Thank goodness I could get back on, and I apologize, Jane. I thought that you had already answered. So, but I'm glad you gave an answer. I got to hear it.
Okay. So our last question is, how will you assist the board in stemming the tide of perpetually declining enrollment? Ms. Debbie, do you want to start?
Okay. Can you repeat that again, Morgan?
Yeah, no problem. How will
Okay.
you assist the board in stemming the tide of perpetually declining enrollment?
Taxes.
Well, I think the taxes need to be a little bit lower in Tully.
So people stop moving.
That's for sure. Taxes keep on going up, and
People keep moving away.
people want to move out. We have a neighbor that just sold his house. Said it's time to get out of here. Taxes are too high. Can't afford it anymore. So I think really have to start looking at things, between the taxes, and I really don't know too much what else, but
Taxes are high.
with the community around here, and
Wherever you go, people are complaining.
there's just too many people that are complaining about things, and there's just need to be a lot of changes done. And the money, too much money's being spent. I don't know what's going to happen during the summer for the kids at the school, or anything either. But I did watch the board meeting when you had just had it in the past, and I did remember hearing that they wanted to spend anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000 for lunches to be delivered during the summer, which never has been done before. And I know that this COVID changed a lot of things, but I don't think that's needed. It's not necessary. That's money that's being spent that I don't think is necessary to be spent. And it's wear and tear on all the buses, the gas, the fuel, the maintenance. There's a lot of things that need to be looked at. So I think, the community's complaining about a lot of that, and I hear that at the stores, no matter where I go, the gas station, Kinney's, Walt Duty, they talk about that all the time over there. I go over there and I hear them, and they even say it. It's nuts. That school's going downhill. It's crazy what they're doing over there. It's not the same. Things need to be taken care of real fast. So I hope things get taken care of somehow, some way. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you. Mrs. Burt, do you want to go next?
Can you repeat the question, please,
Yeah, no problem.
Morgan?
How will you assist the board in stemming the tide of perpetually declining enrollment?
Well, first of all, with declining enrollment, that means there's less students. So what happens is that we have to look at our programs and look on how we can keep our programs and do it in a financially successful way. So the last thing we want to hear from anything is cuts of teachers, of staff, of any kind of district employee. But enrollment is enrollment, and we don't have a lot of control over that. So we have to, with the enrollment going down, I know it has for years, you know, the enrollment, but we just have to be very financially sound about what to do without taking away programs and other things that students need to be successful and to become college and career ready. And that's a hard job to do, but you know, making tough decisions when budgetary changes are necessary is part of our job. And we may have to do that. We have to do that, but we do that we do it collaboratively, and we will look at everything that we have. And the last thing we want to do is take away any kind of great programming, any curriculum, any activities from the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Byrne-Panzarella, do you want to go next?
Sure. That mute button, it sometimes gets forgotten. Huh? The declining enrollment is pervasive in our area. Fabius has declining enrollment. Lafayette has declining enrollment. It's not specific to Tully, from what I can see. That being said, when we do have declining enrollment, and I mentioned this before, as a small rural school, we have to be creative in how we maintain a rigorous academic program for our students. And we have already in place programming shares with Lafayette and Fabius, where, let's say, American Sign Language student wants to take. Well, it may be taught in Fabius, and then there would be either a Zoom meeting or some use of Google Classroom. The teacher would be in Fabius, there would be students in Lafayette and students in Tully who would be taking the class. So you have one teacher and probably a teaching assistant in the classroom with the students in the other districts. So that's one way that we have already begun to look at this problem of declining enrollment. We share in our cafeteria, we share the general manager, I believe, with Lafayette. So we look at where can we share personnel. We, I believe, use BOCEs for some of our kind of background, I don't know what's the word I want to use, assistance, whereas we might have taken care of some business in Tully in the past. Now that we are a smaller school, we can make the use of BOCE services to help us with that. So while enrollment has declined over the years, we have been able to maintain educational programming, sports for our students, through the use of sharing facilities, coaches, teachers, and other personnel. So that's how I think the board can assist in this time of declining enrollment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bastedo, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize for bouncing around. I had to plug my computer and I got that low battery warning. So I apologize for going off screen. Honestly, I think it's our job to sell our school. 150%. I grew up in Syracuse. I went to city schools. I lived there until I decided I wanted to settle down and raise a family. And I looked through the communities to decide where I wanted to go. And with full transparency, I had it narrowed down to Tully, Marcellus, or Skaneateles. They were the school districts I liked. They were the communities I liked. They had some of the belief systems within the communities that I felt were important. Services, being able to go to the store, being able to go to church. The grocery store was an issue, I'll be honest. But I looked into things and I went into the school websites, I went into scores, I wanted to know how are the graduation rates? And if you have a 95% graduation rate, where are they going from high school? What college are they going to? Are they staying in the community or are they running as far away as they can? Some of the things about Tully that impressed me were that there were generations here, because when you love Tully, you love Tully. I live across from the Reeds. I mean, that family, everybody knows the Reeds. That's the apple orchard, and they've been here for years. They know their community. Those were things that sold me to Tully. I knew that it was a smaller school district, so unlike the city, my children would not be one of thousands of kids and graduating in a class of 400, although that has declined tremendously in the city. Those were things that I looked for. So I think that we need to sell our assets and say, this is what we offer. And we need to make sure that the kids that are in school now are doing the best they can, getting the best grades they can, getting the best opportunities. Because when we see them going to OCC, RIT, becoming a tradesman, when we see the athletics, when we see a Lopez or a Brooke or any of these kids doing wonderful things, that's what sells our school. That's what brings families here, because they want to be a part of us. So when we knit down our board and our school and we don't allow outsiders to see the great things we're doing, then that's what happens. They don't see it. So I do think we need to put those things out there. I know Debbie's talked a lot about the school buses. That's paramount. When my kids get on their bus, I know who Mr. Burke is. I know who they're riding with. I know the trip. I know the kids. You wouldn't see that in the city. We don't, unfortunately, you don't usually experience it. You usually walk. So these are things that brought me here. I knew my kids would be on a warm bus with a family atmosphere. I think we have to do it right, sell it and advertise it, and have people wanting to come here for the same reasons they might want to go to MPH, because they know they're going to get the best of the best. Tully needs to give and show the best of the best. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's our last question, unless I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yep, that was the last question on our list.
Okay.
I think we're going to end here. So thank you everyone for participating. We're going to be posting this on our YouTube channel as soon as I get the recording from OCPL. So hopefully that'll be up tomorrow. In case anyone missed it, you can pass along that information to them. And the election is going to be by mail, and I believe the ballots are due back by June 9th. So I don't know if they've been mailed out yet, but hopefully they will be soon, and then they just need to be mailed back. So thank you, Morgan, for being our moderator. Thank you to all the candidates.